Hello there everybody, back with another video. Just thought I'd do something a bit different here. This is about my top, 20 that I own, most sort of disturbing films, or at least films that are disturbing to me. I'll give you a little oversight of each, not so much the plot, but why I think it's disturbing, or it stuck with me, or sort of made me think a lot. Yeah, some of them aren't always, all the graphic stuff you see in the film that makes it disturbing. It's more like it plays on your mind, and certain scenes in it just sort of stay with you and keep you thinking for days after. So they do, get under your skin and affect you. Um, Two I don't own, but I have seen, which I think are obviously quite notorious. Serbian Film. I don't own it because when it first came out, especially in the UK here, it was cut. It had sort of 6 or 7 minutes, and to be fair, well, I don't believe in censorship, but at the same time, some of the stuff that he did cut out of it is pretty extreme for, it's not, I don't think it's a kind of film normal audiences would accidentally happen across. Like, you'd have to know what it is to watch it, but even still, so yeah, I didn't buy it. I don't really buy films that are cut if I can help it. So I don't own it, but I have watched the uncut version on the internet not long after it sort of released on DVD, and yeah, it's disturbing. But in my opinion, obviously, I don't know too much about the war allegory. The sort of director Sergeant Spasovic, I think his name is, has put into it. To me, it's just like trying to be as shocking as possible. I wouldn't quite say for the sake of shocking, because it is really well shot, really well acted, good script, like really well made film. But some of the things in it are just like, if you were to think, what can I pull out of my bag of tricks to be the most disturbing things I can think of, then it seems sort of maybe the director's done that. And then another one, it's called Trauma. I think it's 2099. No, 2009. I was going to say 19. I think it's a Mexican film. No, Chilean. Yeah, from Chile. Um, and it is quite disturbing and opens with a sort of shock shot, a bit like Serbian Film, just trying to be as shocking as possible. And it starts good, and well, I say good, it's not really that well made, but it starts some real disturbing scenes and things, and then later on it just gets a bit silly and the plot gets convoluted, and then, not really a spoiler, but these women are running around trying to fight these killers, and the police are like worse at shooting. They just wait for the killers to kill them. It just gets a bit contrived, I would say, and just is set up in a way to how can we deliver disturbing scenes right now, build a story around it. So yeah, those two I don't own or anything. If Serbian Film becomes uncut, I still probably won't want to own it, to tell you the truth. But yeah, those are the only sort of two that I don't own that are quite disturbing. And then Grotesque I have seen sort of online, which is quite disturbing. But again, there's no story or nothing. It's just basically good special effects, I would say. But for me, if you don't get attached to the main character, then I don't really care if they just show me some random special effects. I know it's not real, so some people being tortured is not that shocking if I don't care about the characters, like say in Hostel. Whereas in certain films we got coming up, they might not have as sort of brutal scenes, but because you're invested in the characters through good acting and good sort of character building, story arc, and that, you care when they are getting attacked and that. Right. Anyway, on with the. Better hurry up, so it isn't too long. On with the actual top 20. Not really in any order apart from the top five. I'd say are the ones that I sort of hold in the highest esteem, not just in film making, but in sort of disturbing way. Right, so first you've got the Seasoning House. It's basically, there's no spoilers to say this, I think it tells you on the back, but it's like a bit of a sort of, what do you call it? Like sex slave, sort of sex trafficking, and a girl gets put into there, and then there's other girls in rooms being abused, and it does sort of show it all quite graphic detail, but it's more just like, it's true, it's happening all over the world. It's just got a real bleak kind of dark feeling. It's all shot in sort of quite dark, ugly colours. It's got Sean Pertwee in it, a few of the other people you might know, but I'd say he's the most famous. Sean Pertwee, I think he was out of Event Horizon. Hereditary. This is quite a mainstream film, I would say, but for mainstream sort of horror, a lot of my mates that are into horror have even seen this, although most of them thought it was too slow and boring and didn't really have the patience to understand it. But yeah, the sort of scene with the girl when you think she's gonna be the, I don't, this isn't a spoiler hopefully, but spoiler alert in case you think she's gonna be the main character, and then something happens to her not long in, sort of virtual expectations, and then yeah, it's just not got too many disturbing scenes really, and it's more just the overall atmosphere. And then when you watch it again, you notice all the sort of cult members hidden in the back, like naked sort of old people, and that. It's just I thought it was better than Midsummer, which is really nicely shot and got off 2 or 3 disturbing scenes. But apart from that, it's just like a breakup drama in a sort of beautiful setting in Scandinavia, whether it is. Next one, Eraserhead, David Lynch film. Probably my favourite David Lynch film. This is disturbing in a different way. It's not really got violence or anything sort of graphic. It's just so abstract and bizarre and shot in such a weird sort of way that it just kind of gets under your skin in the kind of more like a surreal kind of, yeah, it kind of alienates you almost. But yeah, really enjoyable, kind of slow moving. But even one of my mates who does, he's only into his Hollywood sort of Fast and Furious, even he appreciated this film for being bizarre. Like, The Loved Ones. This is, I think it's an Australian one. It was Javier Samuel. I think is the sort of most famous person. I think he's at one of the Twilights or something. Although I've never watched them, but I think it says something on it about something about it here. So I won't give too much of the plot, but basically sort of insane girl sort of torture kind of film. But it's not just what she's doing to him, and the intensity of the acting of her and her dad is really good. And they do come across as properly insane. There's a lot of violence, but I found it more disturbing. Won't give too much away, but basically down in the sort of basement, there's some sort of things they've been keeping, and the shots with them is sort of quite gets under your skin, I would say. Eden Lake, this is a British film. It's kind of like a drama horror, kind of quite action, but basically these couple are out trying to have a nice time in the countryside, and then some sort of yobbo kids just start attacking them, harassing them, and then it escalates from there into like quite a brutal sort of chase movie. Dead Girl, this is not a very good film in terms of how it's executed. The acting ain't great, but it's a really dark kind of atmosphere to it. And then the actual plot and what it's about is messed up. I won't go too much into it, but it's kind of got sort of necrophilia aspect, which is obviously never very wholesome. The Woman, it's a nice Arrow release, sort of special edition. This is quite disturbing violence. Quite a well-made film. A few of the actors in it ain't too great, but the soundtrack in it is quite sort of dark and memorable. Quite sort of, I wouldn't say it's cliche, but you can kind of see where it's going with like what the son does to the woman and things. But a bit near the end when she sort of gets loose and that, and is sort of quite disturbing violence more than sort of atmosphere, I'd say. This one, Tetsuo the Iron Man. Don't really. This one, I think is it Japanese. Obviously, it started Asia Extreme. I don't think it's really the graphic violence or anything you see in this. It's just the way it's edited. It's so sort of hyper fast and edited in. It's kind of almost like stop motion, but the scenes, it's just hard. It's not hard to follow with your eyes, like where it's too fast edited, like say a Michael Bay film or something. It's actually easy. Well, I would say easy to watch, but yeah, it's just the editing and the soundscape gets under your skin just because it's just an assault on the senses. But yeah, I would say in terms of effective editing, I don't think I've seen a film better than this, where take the original material and then edit it in such a way that it just becomes like completely a biggest character of the film, even more than the actors. Audition, I'd say this is Takashi Miike, should I say. Most disturbing film. Kind of disturbing just because of the first hour or so, not much happens, like a romantic love drama, and then it just sort of goes nuts at the end, and it's a few quite like horrible scenes, and the bit with the sort of bag on the floor, you know what I mean, if you've seen it, sort of made me jump. Yeah, I'd say that's probably his best film. Visitor Q and Gozu, I was also tempted to put up there. The Ordeal, I think this is a Belgian one, but basically some guy sort of gets lost and then these guys kidnap him, and it's got some graphic violence and sort of horrible things that happen, but most disturbing scene I thought was in this is, it's not really a spoiler, but basically he goes into this weird old country pub and there's all these guys, and there are one's playing the piano and the others are dancing. The way they dance and that is just so like really creepy and surreal. Just gives you like a shiver up your spine, but you don't even know why because it's not sort of violent or anything. But yeah, it's just like a bit like Eraserhead, where it's just the sort of uncanny and the surreal is what gets to you. Salo. Pier Paolo Pasolini was sort of murdered not long after creating this film, and it's meant to be a political allegory on the way the Italian, like I think it was like Mussolini's regime treated their people. I found this quite boring, to be fair, and quite long and artsy, and it is disturbing. There's a few horrible scenes, and like the sort of, I think it's a Fifth Circle of Hell with the let them eat shit scene, and then at the end it's quite horrible when they sort of torture and kill a lot of the people that most other people are watching from their sort of point of view. But Yeah, it's quite a boring, maybe sort of thing. Film students would study just sort of see how, you can make a film so powerful, but it's not entertaining to watch. Subconscious Cruelty. This is a really weird artistic sort of art house independent film with a few like really messed up scenes. I know a lot of people put this high up. One or two of the sort of short scene segments I didn't enjoy too much, but um, one with the sort of brother and the sister, and then the baby comes along. That is sort of quite messed up, but kind of again, it just feels like some people are just trying to be disturbing rather than writing a film that happens to be disturbing because you're going for a strong story. Cannibal Holocaust. This is probably, I think, really the first found footage film. The actual still stands up today, considering I think it's out late 70s. The actual violence on the people in that is disturbing. I'm not saying the violence on the animals is more disturbing, but the violence on the people is obviously fake. Whereas the violence on the animals, a bit with the turtle and that, is quite disturbing. I don't like animal cruelty, so I have watched the animal cut sort of bit once, and then just to see, and then now I'll just watch the normal version. Mum and Dad, I'd say this is kind of like a dark comedy. It's like a British film, but this really got to my mate and gave him like nightmares and things. And whilst I sort of found it disturbing, but was kind of seeing it at a funny edge, he was just a bit traumatized by it, to tell you the truth. But yeah, some quite shocking violence, sort of just the atmosphere, and it's just a real grimy, sort of dirty, messed up, low budget, but it really works. And really good acting by the main sort of people, the mum and dad. Excision, it's an American film. This has got some real messed up scenes, real sort of messed up dream scenes, but it's the end scene. I won't sort of go into spoilers, but you'll know when you see it. But the sort of scream at the end just really gets under your skin. Really good acting by the main girl. What's she called in this? Can't actually see it. Oh, right up there, Anna Lynn McCord. I think she was at Beverly Hills 90210, so quite a different role. I Stand Alone. This is like Gaspar Noé, I think he's called. I think this is his best film. I prefer it to Irreversible and Enter the Void, and maybe not over. What's the newest one he did with dancers? I'll remember the name in a minute. But it's just disturbing to me because at the time it's quite sort of few shocking scenes to watch, but it just really gets under your skin and depresses you. And I don't know if it's the white noise or something in it, but the next day I just kind of felt a bit sort of horrible. I thought I did have these in order, but I guess it sort of goes this way. So Freds, this is like a British documentary about what would happen if an atomic bomb dropped on, I think it's on Sheffield, and the way it's made is like a kind of documentary. Some of the scenes with like the shell-shocked woman, not only is it disturbing with some disturbing imagery, but it just at the time, especially when it's released at the height of the sort of Cold War, and now again, today, I guess with Russia going on and things, that kind of does seem believable. But yeah, there's the way it's shot. It's kind of going to sound weird, but it's sort of got like a soap kind of atmosphere, like say Coronation Street. And then when violent stuff starts happening and people are suffering, it's all the more shocking because it's got no Hollywood glamour. It's kind of like, watching like Coronation Street if they really dropped an atomic bomb on the set and like when the people weren't expecting it. Girl Next Door, this is based on a true story, which it already put Fred's up there, which is what makes it so disturbing to me. But some really horrible scenes, real sort of spiteful kind of horrible woman in it, plays the part really well. Written by Jack Ketchum, who writes a lot of sort of good intense kind of books. But yeah, the fact it's based on a true story is what sort of makes it disturbing for me. Snowtown, it's put that up there again, keep forgetting. Snowtown, this again is a really sort of disturbing one. It's based on a true story. This one's Australian, really good acting. One of the scenes of violence with the sort of torture, I won't say too much, but sort of someone being strangled is just one of the most intense, like graphic, realistic portrayals of violence I've seen in any film. Just like really seems to drag on. It's mean spirited, but obviously it's based on a real story, so it's meant to be. But I was quite surprised when I watched this how actually effective it was. I expected it to be a bit disturbing, but to have it as like my number 2 or something, I never expected when I sort of went to watch it. But yeah, it stays with you. To tell you the truth, I haven't watched it again since, not because it's going to give me nightmares, kind of disturbing, but not only is it depressing, but it just got such a grimy, like horrible kind of feel to it. And I need a shower after. And this is my top one. Obviously, a lot of people know this. You might think it's cliched, but for me, not only is this the first one I seen that not only sort of got me into disturbing films, but really sort of affected me and got under my skin and just left me thinking about it for days. A few of my mates who are not into foreign cinema, this is a French one, by the way, the French sort of extreme wave, not into foreign cinema and sort of deeper films or even horror, they really appreciated it and sort of even bought it themselves itself, and yeah, it leaves you with a question at the end that just haunts you. Some real disturbing imagery. You think you know where the film's going, and it kind of gets to a bit like a Grudge kind of thing with a sort of ghost woman, and then it sort of pulls the rug out, switches halfway through. It's got some of the hardest on-screen violence to watch I've ever seen. So where you care about the character, yeah, it just sort of leaves you feeling dark and sort of horrible afterwards. Right, I'm about to run out of time on my phone at just over 15 minutes, so I better go. But thanks for watching. I'll be back again with another video soon. Thanks, bye.